Hey YouTube, it's McLaren Lamb here again, and I got another firearms video for you today. What we're going to be looking at is two guns today, because I want to do a comparison of the two. So for the first one, I got the Kriss Vector. This is the non-restricted version in Canada, that's why it's got such a long barrel. I know this kind of looks like a silencer, like a kind of square-shaped can on the end, but it's actually just an 18.5-inch barrel. It's got a tube adjustable stock here, rather than the folding stock, because this is the Gen 3 version. And then I also have the Scorpion Evo 3, the Carbine version as well. So 18.5-inch barrel length. We got two of the same barrel lengths here, because again, in Canada, for these to be non-restricted rifles, we have to have the long barrel. So kind of compare the two in terms of the recoil and see if I actually get any less muzzle rise with the Kriss Vector, or if I actually feel any less recoil. And that's not the only thing I want to look at today. I'm also going to be looking at modularity, ergonomics, and reload speed and accuracy as well. So I'll start off by saying that the Kriss Vector actually kind of feels like a heavier recoil impulse when I fire it as opposed to the Scorpion Evo. I actually kind of feel it more in my cheek when I have it up against me. So, I mean, it's a 9mm, so it's not going to have too much recoil, but even still, when it's up against my cheek, I actually feel it like punching up into my cheek. And I don't actually feel it to be any easier to do like speed shooting with it. You know, when you're trying to fire multiple rounds and keep it on target. I don't actually find it any easier than the Scorpion Evo, even though it's a straight blowback action. I hold it up on target and I can't really tell the difference. It feels almost exactly the same. So like I mentioned, it is a 9mm, so the recoil of the Kriss Vector isn't a big deal anyways. It's not going to be an issue when you're shooting. It's very light. Shooting a 9mm out of a rifle like this is still almost nothing. It's comparable to like a 22 long rifle or something like that. So the next thing I'll go over is the reload speed. Now, with the Kriss Vector, the way you reload this rifle is on the left side of the gun. You have the reload, the magazine release right here. So it's right pretty much where your hand would be. That's why I have the vertical grip on here, because when you're holding the rifle like this, you'll actually find that your hand accidentally presses the button to release the mag. It happens quite a lot for a lot of people. It's kind of been a complaint almost for a lot of people. So again, if you're holding it like that, flat, without the vertical grip, it's really easy. If you just squeeze a little too hard, it's just going to pop right out. So vertical grip helps avoid that almost entirely. And then when you want to reload, push that button, and then you grab another mag, stick it in, and then push the bolt release. So you got it like that. You take out the mag, reach for another, stick it in, close the bolt. So bolt release, nice and close right there. Now I'm afraid I only have the one mag for the Kriss Vector, so kind of the best simulation for the reload is really just taking it out and pretending to grab another one and put it back in for you. So that's about the best I can do. So we'll talk about the Evo. Now, with the Scorpion Evo, it's somewhat reminiscent of like an AR. If you're used to an AR, the controls aren't too different. So you have a flapper right in front of the trigger guard to drop your mag, right? Just like that. It's ambidextrous. It's on both sides, just like that. And then you have a bolt release on the left side of the gun only. So when you have to have it on fire, when you lock the bolt back, take out a mag, grab another, put a fresh one in. You then just put it in, put your thumb here, and then push down to close the bolt, like that. So the thing is, when I first bought this rifle, I thought, oh, this is awesome. You know, you just push the button and the mag just pops right out, right? Pretty sweet. But of course, that'll only happen if the bolt's closed. So if you actually have the bolt open here, right, the mag actually doesn't fall out at all. See, I'm pushing on the lever and I got nothing. So For the reload for this rifle, I'm not sure if this is every Scorpion Evo, but this is definitely an issue with mine. When I reload, I can't just drop the mag out while I reach for another. I actually have to grab it, pull it out, throw it down, grab another, stick it in, and then hit that bolt release, send the bolt home, fire it from there. So not bad, but that's kind of where the Kriss Vector has the advantage, is when I hit that mag release, it just drops out, and then I can easily reach for another, hit that bolt release. The bolt release on the Kriss Vector is a little bit easier to push too, because you just push it right in, whereas opposed to the Scorpion Evo, it's kind of this thing you have to push down, like you have to push it down towards the floor like that. And I found myself, when I'm trying to do a speed reload, I'll put it in, and then I find myself trying to push the button or the lever, but you actually got to push it like down like that. But it's not a big deal. So in terms of accuracy for these two rifles, it's pretty much almost exact same. They're both firing 9mm. They both have the same exact barrel length, so accuracy is almost no different. I will say that you kind of have a pretty high level from the sights on this Kriss Vector. Right, these are just the standard flip sights that come with it. I'm just doing the review of that, not going to worry about any optics for now. But of course you could throw an optic on this rail. So the sights are a good 2 inches above the muzzle. So when you're sighting in this rifle, you have to adjust for that. Now I found that that was a lot easier to do with the Scorpion Evo's sights that it comes with, these attachable and detachable iron sights. I actually find that they're a little bit more level with the barrel. So I actually didn't even need to sight this rifle in at all. It's been extremely accurate since I've had it. Also, the sight is a bit more adjustable on the Scorpion Evo. To give you a closer look, this rear sight is adjustable for windage. And then you also have 4 different sights that you can rotate through like that. So from small to large like that. And then the front sight is adjustable for elevation only. The flip-up sights that the Kriss Vector comes with, you have to manually flip them up like this. And then you have a pretty standard set of sights there. So these are adjustable for windage here, elevation here. And also you do have 2 different apertures at the back that you can flip through. So you got the large and then a small. Just like that. Now obviously if you own a Kriss Vector, you're going to be running some kind of optic with it. So in terms of the sights, I think the Scorpion Evo has a bit of an advantage. I prefer the sights over these, over the Kriss Vector. And then for reload speed, I give the advantage to the Kriss Vector over the Scorpion Evo. And then for felt recoil, it's pretty much a tie. It feels pretty much exactly the same as far as I could tell when I was shooting it. So in terms of modularity, the guns here are pretty similar. So for the Scorpion Evo 3, you have an M-LOK handguard up front, on the bottom and on both sides, and then a full-length Picatinny rail on the top. So you can mount any optic, flashlights, lasers, grips, whatever you want. The pistol grip here, you can't change that out. That's a fixed pistol grip, so at that angle that you have, I know a lot of people kind of like a more shallow angle for a grip, but in terms of the Scorpion Evo, this is pretty much what you're stuck with. And then I believe there's probably some other stocks you can probably get for this, but so far I like this one. You can adjust it for length of pull, and it's a folding stock as well. That. The modularity on the Kriss Vector is pretty similar. Again, you have a full-length monolithic Picatinny rail up top, and then about a 3-inch bit of Picatinny rail on the bottom. That's where I have my vertical grip, and then you do have these screw holes here that I believe would let you mount more Picatinny rail on the sides. I'd watch out putting Picatinny rail on this side because that's where your charging handle is. So you might not want to be attaching stuff right here because that's where your charging handle is. So if you're ever trying to operate that, you're going to be tearing through your hand or tearing through your glove. In terms of the stock, the original Kriss Vector came with a folding stock, but the Gen 3 here actually comes with a adjustable tube stock, kind of an M4 style stock like that. Now, of course, you could change this one out with another rear buttstock, but of course this one's the only white one that I've ever seen, and it comes with this gun, and I got this gun in white, so I don't really want to mess with the aesthetics, because obviously that's the most important thing, right? For maneuverability, I think I'm going to give the advantage to the Scorpion Evo 3. Pretty much this whole outer part of the gun is made out of polymer, like a full plastic gun, and of course all the internal parts are metal. But I found this one to be a lot lighter and a lot easier to move around with, and move around trees, go from standing to prone and from prone to standing with, and move it around the way I need to. The Kriss Vector, it just kind of feels, I kind of feel like it's a bit of a heavy block. You know, this gun definitely has more weight to it than the Scorpion Evo. And I just found, especially the barrel length, even though it's the same barrel length, it just feels like I got this huge, long, like tube just sticking way out in front of me. And I just didn't find it as easy to maneuver as I did the Scorpion Evo 3. So we'll talk about price. So as far as I've seen, and from personal experience, the Kriss Vector definitely costs a lot more than the Scorpion Evo. This ran me about 2,100 bucks Canadian. This one was about 1,300 bucks Canadian, maybe a little over. So you're definitely going to save about $600, $700 there on getting a Scorpion Evo. And I have to admit, I think I like the Scorpion Evo a bit more. It just seems, like I said, I like the accuracy of it, the maneuverability, the sights. The reload speed could use a little tiny bit of work, but other than that, I ultimately have liked this rifle a bit more than the Kriss Vector. Now, I'm not saying at all that the Scorpion Evo is a better gun. It just fits my preference a bit more. And I'm definitely not saying that the Kriss Vector isn't an awesome gun. This gun is awesome. It's an amazing weapon to have. Every time I go to the range with this thing, I get lots of looks, for sure, especially because of the white. People have been calling this a stormtrooper rifle, but this is an excellent gun as well. But in terms of choosing between carbines here in Canada, I actually prefer the CZ Scorpion Evo 3 over the Kriss Vector. So that's about everything I got to say in terms of both of these rifles. So I hope that you learned as much as you needed to on both of these guns and got a chance to see the difference between the two. Even though they're very similar rifles, there are some subtle differences to both of them. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed the video, and be sure to tune in for my next video. Thank you very much. See ya.